Hi, I'm Tanya White, and today we're going to speak about Parshat Shemini. If you want a longer version of this, more detailed, please go to my website, www.tanyawhite.org, and you will find there the blog post, which has a more detailed expansion on the ideas I'm going to mention today in our discussion. Parshat Shemini, how are we meant to draw close to God? And if we think about Sefer Vayikra, it provides answers to some very difficult theological questions. How do we come close to God, to a transcendent being? How can we worship God who doesn't have a physical body, doesn't have a face or an embrace? And why does the Torah dedicate almost a book and a half to the intricate details of a temporary structure, of the Mishkan, a temporary structure? I want to think for a minute about what we've been looking at over the last few months. We've been looking at the book of Bereshit, and we saw in that book that there is an evolving relationship between man and God. And in that book, there are many different models of that relationship. There's struggles, there's highs and lows, but many of the prayers, the spontaneous sacrifices, the protests, the inner conscience are expressions of a relationship with God outside of an official channel of law and ritual. However, when we become a nation with a holy mission and a national legal manifesto with the Torah, our relationship takes on a far more calibrated framework. It's not enough just to have this individual spontaneous expression of love or passion or beseechment to God. It can't be the only channel of divine worship. And we saw with the golden calf that the people wanted to spontaneously worship God through this method. But it was one, as we mentioned before in our previous videos, it was one that was not enough. And it led in the end to nihilism and to erroneous ways of worshipping. For an individual to worship as they like can serve the immediate needs of creative expression, but it would fail to serve the long-term needs of sustaining a covenantal nation. So something new has to be initiated. And what's initiated is the priesthood, sacrificial duties, and that is the public official channel of divine worship. It takes over from what we see in Sefer Bereshit as this more individual expression of divine love and connection. So this is what we see unpacked in Sefer Vayikra. And there we have lots of laws and rules and boundaries that form the framework for this national expression of worship. I want to return now to our parsha. In our parsha, we have Nadav and Avihu, the two sons of Aaron, who bring a sacrifice and are immediately consumed by this divine fire. And we have to ask ourselves, what did they do wrong? If you read the text, it's very ambiguous. Moreover, they were great people, and we know that they were great and important people. They were not sinners. So we need to take a step back and talk about the context. What is the context? The context is as follows. The people had been exposed to God removing his presence from among them as a result of the golden calf and the sin of the golden calf. And they create, after the sin of the golden calf, this Mishkan. The Mishkan is created by Tzalel, and we've spoken about it over the last few weeks. It's an after creating it, they have an 8-day dedication ceremony, which symbolizes the return of the divine into the camp. And each of the tribes, each of the princes brings sacrifices. And at the very end of this 8-day ceremony, God is about to come back down into the people. His presence is about to reveal itself again. And literally, as he is about to, the Shekhinah, the divine presence is about to come into the camp, Nadav and Avihu, the sons of Aaron, spontaneously desire to bring a sacrifice, and the Torah describes it as an eish zera asher lo tziva otam, a foreign fire that was not commanded, and they are immediately consumed. And God's words to Aaron afterwards are particularly solemn and poignant. He says, I have been sanctified through those that are close to me in the face of the people. The passage is enigmatic, but what we realize is that what God seems to be saying to Aaron is that I had to, for pedagogical reasons, kill the people, because what they were teaching to them in this moment was not something the people could see. And that is If we go back to the idea that we've unpacked, the idea of order and chaos and boundaries and spontaneity and boredom and desire and routine and ecstasy, these are all part and parcel of human nature and of the way in which we live and of our being and our existence. The people have built the Mishkan as a way of rectifying the sin for the golden calf. And God repeatedly emphasizes that the Mishkan has to be built through strict adherence to the word and the command of God. The fire of our passion needs to be reined in. We are no longer in the period in which we can spontaneously worship God as we like. We are in a period in which it has become part of a structured national edifice of worship. It reminds us very much of any relationship. The early passionate manifestations of a love affair are going to die. If the lovers don't learn to live within the realm of routine, of boredom, of boundaries, the Mishkan is to God and the people what the daily routine and gestures of loyalty are to a marriage. But when we talk about God, the boundaries are even more defined and important. People have been working for many months on this divine command given to them to build the Mishkan. And it would have been shot through from a pedagogical perspective if they wouldn't, if Nadav and Avihu wouldn't have immediately been punished or even punished. The consequence would have been seen for the people of bringing foreign fire. Foreign worship, foreign passion, foreign fire is not allowed in the boundaries and strictures, in the framework of this national worship of God. Immediately after the death of Nadav and Avihu, we have a demarcation between pure and impure and all the laws to do with holy and profane. Like their father Aaron, who also describes the creation of the calf as being the fire of the people coming out from fire. The calf came out from the fire of the people. Nadav and Avihu create or manifest their sin in the same, manifest their expression of worshipping God in the same way. But the people, which God is trying to teach the people here, that to approach the divine, to have a relationship with the transcendent being, we need to have a strict and structured framework. After the great fire and lightning at Har Sinai, the people had to be reminded and taught the secret of a sustainable relationship. They had to be shown how to channel their frenzied passion of fire into the warmth and incandescent perpetual glow of a real, true, sustainable relationship. That's what our relationship with God needs. It needs both. And that's why, by the way, prayer comes through these two realms. It comes through the 3 prayers a day that mirror the command, the sacrificial worship, the routine, the structure. But it also, we have the model of the avot, which is the spontaneity, that prayer we can say at certain moments. Every relationship requires both surprise, born of chaos, and spontaneity. It's what keeps a relationship alive. The sustainability and longevity of a relationship, as well as its meaning and purpose, is born in the daily grind of routine and small acts of love, loyalty, and trust. Our relationship with God is no different. Today, as I said, there is a need for autonomous expression of prayer and love and supplication, but they can't replace the daily ritual of prayer and worship. Each has a space and a place, a time and a condition. And our challenge is to understand when to employ each model. This is the challenge. It's a challenge that Nadav and Avihu were not able to understand. Maybe not even Aaron himself. And that's why it's even greater a challenge for us. But yet, it is the core understanding and the core engine that propels our relationship with God. Wishing everybody Shabbat Shalom.